nimeona wale watu ambao wao na shule ni hawaelewani. Mmoja anaitwa Oscar Sudi. Ati amekasirika sana kwa sababu ulitaja maneno ya 207. Ile kitu tunataka tuwakumbushe. Mambo ya 207 ni sawa sawa. Wakati Mheshimiwa William Ruto na Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta walishikana, walituambia tuwasamehe, na ni sawa, tuliwasamehea. Kitu hatuwezi fanya ni kusahau, kwa sababu hapo ndani hatuwezi sahau. Hapo ndani ya kanisa hapana miti, hapana makaa, hapana kitu kingine kilichomwa, ni watoto wetu ambao walichomwa hapo ndani, na hakuna siku moja tutawahi sahau. Na mtu mwenye anapanga kuiba kura, anaweza iba kura ya mtu mwingine, anaweza iba kura ya Raila Odinga, anaweza iba kura, lakini Rigathi Gachagua hawezi iba. Hii mtoto ya Maumau atakimbiza nyinyi kama basikeli ya kuibiwa, na nyinyi mnaona hapa iko jeshi ya watu ambao kura haiwezi ibiwa. So watu wa Kenya wamesema mambo ya William Ruto wamemaliza, wametosheka, apange mambo yake, akijiendeanga, ashughulike na shughuli nyingine.
Mimi mambo ya usalama ya kitaifa nayachukulia kwa makini sana, na naelewa umuhimu wa usalama wa taifa. I understand the importance of national security. Sasa ati tunaambiwa sijui kuna vita itapiganwa kama ile ya 207. Hii 207 tulipoteza watu wengi hata kutoka sehemu hii yetu kwa sababu ya hiyo machafuko. Kweli si kweli? Watu wengi wakapoteza mali yao. Hiyo 207, kiongozi wetu Uhuru Kenyatta na naibu wake wakawekewa makesi kule Hague. Si mimi ndio nilikuwa wakili wao? Hiyo kazi ilikuwa rahisi? Si kazi ngumu? Si karibu nchi isambaratike kwa sababu ya hiyo machafuko? Kwa hivyo hatuwezi kukubali mtu yoyote kuturudisha kwa maneno ya 2007. Let me repeat, we cannot allow anyone to return us to 2007 issues. Kenya learned very painful and hard lessons. And I want to announce, on behalf of the government of Kenya, on behalf of President Ruto, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, there will be no election violence. Not in 2027, not at any date in the future.
Wateso ni watu wazuri, naibu wa rais. Ukifika Teso, ujue lazima utakuja kuwa president siku moja katika dunia hii. Na Wateso wanakufurahia kwa sababu wewe sio mkabila. Si nyinyi mnamjua mkabila yuko wapi? Ule ulichukua kiti yako naibu wa rais hakukanyaka Teso. Aliwahi kufika hapa? Huyo mtu atakuwa rais ya Kenya? Shetani afanye namna gani? Ati sasa ameenda kutangaza Kenya kwamba kutatokea vita baada ya uchaguzi 2027. Huyo ni mtu ashindwe asishindwe? Kama huyu Kaunya ameungana na William Ruto na Kindiki, atatushinda yeye? Wapi nyimbo safi ya Wateso hapa niimbe? Iko? Weka hiyo niimbe ndio Wateso wajue nimechamuka hapa Teso. Na leo lazima tuchangie Wateso sawa sawa. Wapi nyimbo mzuri? Yes. Hatuwezi kuja Teso na kukaa namna hii. Lazima tuwe, ama nyinyi hamtaki kutukaribisha? Tuko pamoja na Wateso.
Welcome to Fireside, the home of policy, polity, and politics, as Dismas Mokua puts it. Dismas Mokua is absent today. He's handling a few issues, but he will be back with a bang. But today we have Odoyo, Owidi, and Agnes Githaka. I was about to say they're going to bring the house down, but we don't want the house to be brought down. So we'll just have engaging conversations around the issues surrounding politics, surrounding policy, surrounding government as we know it in Kenya today. And as usual, it's our custom on Fireside to start with our highlight of the week. We've had some incendiary remarks from a few individuals on either side of the political divide. We've had Farouk Kibet promising Kithure Kindiki presidency. I don't want to laugh yet, but yeah, we can comment on those issues even as we share our highlights of the week. What has been?
Ile party that was launched is called what? DCP. It was launched when I was in Garissa. I had gone for a working tour of Garissa, and I heard Wariaise who could say that this one is a dangerous conman party. And I thought that was very profound, even though it was derogatory. But what was more profound in that launch was the people who were sent to come and interfere with it. These people waited until everything ended, until the key speaker delivered his address and purported to further that. If there is anybody who sent them for the sole purpose of ensuring that they mess up the function, they would have done it at the beginning or midway or before the key speaker spoke. But when the ceremony was all over, then they came up like they are going to give a vote of thanks. I think that was a joke. I think for anybody to tell us to believe that they were sent by the detractors of the party owner or the party, I think is to take us for fools. This trend of every function where Riggy G goes, he brings friendly people to purport to mess it up and blame it on the government, I think is not acceptable. You remember there was a time he went to church and a large crowd jumped in with white chairs and throwing around and running around, and they all disappeared. No injury, no nothing. They were just, if people are brought up to mess up something, they will come with proper weapons. Weapons that when people see, even the Pope runs away. So I think that is a game now he has to stop playing because we have busted him.
You're saying, as Aaron Cheriot was commenting the other day, that was a Malala script. It was a play.
That's a play. That's a Malala script. The students can act it.
Yes, Agnes, you can.
No, I wanted to answer what my friend here is saying. I also want to believe if this is something that the DCP party leader had decided or had stage managed, I think the perpetrators of those actions would have been arrested. If they hadn't been sent by the government. I want to believe so.
So who would have arrested them? If it was Gachagwa's event and he sponsored people to come and look like they're disrupted, so who would have arrested those people?
They are already causing interruption to the citizens. They are also causing damage. We even had the guns. So I think that would have been against the government. But now, I don't know. Do you want to tell me when Pastor Dorcas had the event, the prayer meeting, she also sent her own people?
The script is very easy to see. Even when you are saying that they should have been arrested, first of all, you don't have such a function, and then you refuse to invite the police, and when the mayhem has been caused, you refuse to go and report. A check at Mudangari nor Kilimani has no report of that mess, because you're going to report so that the people you hired be arrested. Even that one of Pastor Rigadi, they wanted to bring emotions because they knew when it is a lady, people will now say, no, this is overboard. This is crossing the red line. In politics, let me tell you, I have watched and I have stories of people killing their own chief campaigners to blame it on the opponent just to win public sympathy. It happens. That's how politics can be dirty.
But Agnes, you are a member of the DCP party.
Yes, I am.
I'm just curious. This party was launched
on 15th.
On 15th.
Yes.
Did you become a member before the party was launched when we saw it being launched, or you became a member on the day of the launch of the party? It's curious for me.
Becoming a member officially, it is after it's being launched, so that you follow the ORPP and then you register. So I registered on that day.
On 15th?
On 15th, yes.
Okay. Owidi, you're a farmer. I think you've kept cattle at some point.
Yes.
I don't know whether you've done dairy, but dairy farmers know that there's a dairy supplement called dicalcium phosphate. Dicalcium phosphate, when you buy the dicalcium phosphate container, it is labeled DCP.
Of course, that.
And it does not have, you cannot use it to feed the cow. You just give it as a supplement for those, for calcium and phosphates. Previously, we were treated to another acronym that is an acronym for fertilizer. Diammonium phosphate. And the phosphate is the common denominator. Do you think that this DCP it's just another phosphate in the current political landscape?
You need to read the body language, study the sequence of events, listen to the statements. First of all, when you listen to the statements, especially by Riggy G, in fact, my friend here, this beautiful lady did not join DCP. He joined Rigathi because DCP did not even come up with a manifesto or anything they believe in. When Malala was asked what is the manifesto, he said their manifesto is one term. So,
but you see, this was not a launch. This was just unveiling.
So, but you said it was a launch.
The launch is coming on 4th of June. This is just
by
telling people there's this political party, the colors, and what we stand for. So the launch is coming on 4th of June.
Launching a political party is not like naming a baby. It has to come with a full constitution, full mantra, what they believe in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
but
that will be coming in June.
When after the launch, a few days you come here and purport to be a member, it tells me that you are actually not following any political party and its ideals. You are following one man and his ideals. This is one man who has promised us that we are going to have violence in in 2027, that the one that happened 10 years from then is child play, and I think that is the height of it, because there are certain things that are so bad that you don't even need to remind people about them, let alone promise other people. And you see, what I have watched the leader of DCP is doing with this party, wherever he goes, it is vitriol. It is insults to the president. And I think his manifesto, like his Secretary General said, is one term for President William Ruto. But I want to remind him that Kenyans do not want a new president. What they want is food on their table. What they want is development. What they want is a lower cost of living. What they want is a working health care. That is what Kenyans want. They don't want a new president. They don't want a new party. They don't want a new leader. Those are the things they want. So even if we have the old leader and you probably don't like it, you can still make him deliver.
No, what I want to believe is
yes,
the leader of the DCP party is not really trying to give the rights about 2027 on what happened in 2007. What he was just trying to say, if somebody tries to mess up with the election, and as you have said, we are not looking at a new president, which I believe the citizens want better life, the living standards, and at least
Correct.
To see there is something that is happening. Because as we can see, they tell us that the economic growth, I think, has dropped from 9.2% to 3.5%. But can we really touch and say that is what is happening? Can we feel it? So I think what is happening here is not that he's threatening that 2027 will happen like 2007. He's just telling the person in charge, don't try to do what you may think to do, because it might not augur well with the citizens, because the ground looks a bit slippery for the...
Agnes, just to follow up on what you're saying, Gachagua said, Raila Odinga and Azimio claimed that the election in 2022 had been rigged.
Yes.
Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto were, very brazen, and they said hii walicheza vile walicheza na walishinda asubuhi na mapema.
Yeah.
So is what Rigathi Gachagua is saying, in essence, what he's saying, or what he's threatening to do is not to go the way Raila Odinga went. He's threatening to make things very bad in case anyone steals the election, or in case they feel that anyone has stolen the election, just like the way Raila Odinga felt that the election had been stolen. Is that what Gachagua was promising?
Probably yes and probably no. Reason being, there are those procedures that will have followed to get to that point, which I believe these two have worked together, Riggy G and the president, so they know each other well, right?
So are you suggesting they rigged,
they
rigged the last
I'm not
election?
saying they rigged, but they know each other, right? Ukiona mtu akikwambia don't do this, I know you, means they know each other. So probably by him saying what he said, he knows what the president, and he knows what the president is capable of.
But Mwangale, being a truthful man, I think he should have told us the truth. That you are swearing us in, but we rigged these elections. So he's not a truthful man.
Probably at that point he couldn't say, because he was part of the government being sworn in.
So he can't say the truth when the truth favors him, when the lie favors him.
But I believe that's what most people do. You'll only say what
So
happened after you are out of the place.
So it's
but
like
I also
most people.
believe this is a person who has the citizens of Kenya at heart. I wouldn't think he would be for that to happen. So what he's maybe just trying to do is to caution his friend, because I believe they are great friends.
When you say he has the people of Kenya at heart, I just want to point you to the party officials of DCP party. Of course, you have Rigathi Gachagua, you have Cleophas Malala, who appears to be the only seed of maize in that bean collection. You have Deputy Party Leader David Mingati. You have Secretary General Mithika, Organizing Secretary Kate Waruguru, Limuru MP Peter Mwati is the Deputy Party Chair of Strategy. And if I read through that whole list, it appears as though this is a Mount Kenya party, and Cleophas Malala and somebody else there who heads something in the elections board are just strays in DCP party. So when you say Rigathi Gachagua has Kenyans at heart, wouldn't we have expected to see the face of Kenya in DCP party?
But we have somebody like Christopher Mwadime, who's from Taita.
What
He's the
position
secretary
has,
for devolution.
That in the when you say he's the secretary for devolution, how many parties do you know that have that kind of position? And is that a position that you can call an influential position in a political party?
I really don't want to say that it's a Mount Kenya party, because I want to believe we also have others. We have like Andrew Kiplimo. He's also in the national executive, who is the director for election. So I think we are coming up well, because there are quite a number of people. But you see, these positions can't fit every person. But I think he has tried to distribute that well. We also have Hezron Obaga, who is the interim secretary general. Is he still from Mount Kenya?
Hezron Obaga. Hezron Obaga comes from Meru.
Are you really sure?
Isn't Meru in Mount Kenya? But are you getting my point? That,
yes, I do.
You're saying Riggy Gachagua cares for the country, has the people of Kenya at heart, and you'll hear him say, those statements once in a while. But when rubber meets the road, if you are bringing together, and Riggy Gachagua does not move away from Mount Kenya, as far as I have gathered. Is there any rally or any meeting that Riggy Gachagua, since his ouster, has done outside Mount Kenya? You're a member of DCP party. You may know. You may have the inside story.
Yes, I think there is one. He had gone to. Was it
you're
Kisii
searching
or
for
something?
it. You're looking.
Yeah, I'm yeah, but I think he has one, and it was, I think, in Kisii or Kakamega. I believe so. I can't really put a finger on, but I think he has.
Okay. Owidi, do you think Riggy Gachagua has anything national about him?
Even when you use words that ordinarily in the dictionary they have certain meanings, the context in which you use them sometimes tell us what they really mean. There is a man called Matiang'i.
Yeah.
When Riggy G wanted him to be part of his party, he actually called him from Kisii to Wamunyoro. And any other meeting he has met talking about the Kisiis, they have to come all the way. What Riggy G is trying to do, he is trying not to ever be seen playing a second fiddle at any time. Even when the show was for Matiang'i, you still saw how people stood. He was never given an opportunity to sit in the middle. And when he was speaking to the Kisiis, he told them, si Matiang'i pia anatosha kuwa rais. But in actual sense, Riggy G is saying he's the presidential candidate for whatever this party is. But I have told him time on end that Kenya belongs to all of us. We must share its resources equally and equitably, including leadership positions. So Riggy G has never been national. He has never acted national. He has never talked national. And let me also tell you, he may not necessarily want to be the president. He still wants to capture the people of Mount Kenya until they believe in him like the Luo believe in Raila Odinga. After he has achieved that, he can now use them until even probably he dies. The Kikuyu, by their number, plus everybody around there, are approaching 10 million before you register them as voters.
And maybe
that is larger than the country of Denmark and Sweden. So if he becomes their president, and even if he doesn't become the president of the Republic of Kenya, he can tax them the way they want. They can even make him live above the law. He can control everybody. You normally hear some leaders, kingpins, whenever they talk, they keep talking about sending more funds to the counties. Because it is the counties, they can determine the leadership the way they want. And if they determine the leadership the way they want, they can take any amount of money from there the way they wish. So that is the script that Riggy Gachagua is trying to do.
And maybe just to interject,
I will allow you.
We always say charity begins at home.
Yes.
What's wrong with Riggy G first gaining his momentum from home and then to other counties? Or
Nothing is wrong. But if we have waited for him for 1 year to now move out of home,
he first have to make his foundation strong.
Yes.
Because we always say, if you're not accepted at home, what will you go to tell the strangers?
If it takes 1 year
the other thing you've said is that Riggy G wants to be like Rao. What's wrong with him doing that? Is it wrong? We have people from Nyanza who almost worship Rao, right?
You want also that in Mount Kenya?
No, I'm asking. It's just a question.
I have not said there's anything wrong. Even this idea you have said of being strong at home first.
Yeah, you first
I
have
like
to-
it.
yes.
But if we have waited for you for 1 year to build your stronghold at home, when are you going to build it in Eastern? When are you going to build it in Western?
No, that
when are you
makes-
going to build it
that
in
will make
Nyanza?
it very easy because once you have
Or
the
this one is
foundation-
going to gloss over?
Agnes,
No,
what
no, no.
Owidi is saying is that you can build a foundation, but it's dangerous to live on the foundation. You must put up some walls.
that I get. That I get. But now my
How long
question
does it
is,
take a man
can I
to build
tell
a
you
foundation?
something? If you have good support from your background, getting other support it's a little easier because people will say, "Are you accepted home?" They'll say yes. Then they'll be like, "If you're
Let me
accepted,
tell you,
then
when
it
you
will
have
get
already
easier."
been the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, and you still want to build support at home, and you are going around the country telling us how the votes that went to President William Ruto were also your votes. I wonder what other things Riggy G is building in Central when he knows Central
No,
voted
but
to the last
Can
man
I ask
to
you a
UDA.
question? Were they not elected together?
They were elected together, yes.
Agnes.
Yes.
when,
So if they were elected together, what is he still building there when Mount Kenya 100% voted
No,
for
it's
UDA?
you who is saying that he's going around saying he was elected, what the president got. But in the ballot paper, there were 2, not 1. So he was also elected.
So you think the votes were in the ballot paper, some were for Riggy G, some for Waruto?
Of course, there's
You
what he
elect
brought
the
in.
president, but the president
Yes.
has his
Let me-
third name
But he-
as the running
There's
mate.
also what he brought
let me
in.
let me jump in here. Agnes is saying Rigathi Gachagua brought in quite a lot, meaning that without Rigathi Gachagua, William Ruto would not have gotten the Mount Kenya.
Can I ask you maybe
vote.
just a question?
Yes.
If he didn't bring much, why didn't we go for Martha Karua, who is also from Mount Kenya?
And that is a question I think.
I'll
Mount
give
Kenya
let
people-
me give you an answer.
Yes, Owidi.
There was Martha Karua holding Raila Odinga's hands.
Yes.
And there was Rigathi Gachagua holding William Ruto's. If you shifted Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua, the votes would have still been on Martha Karua. It is the presidential candidate that mattered, not the running mate. I can tell you,
But I think also-
wait a minute. When UDA was choosing the running mate, we all know, including you, that they did not choose Rigathi Gachagua. And majority of the UDA were Mount Kenya. Rigathi Gachagua himself rode on the back of President William Ruto. Without President William Ruto giving Rigathi Gachagua an opportunity to be the DP, today he would not even be thinking of running for governor, let alone president. He must thank President William Ruto for that opportunity that is shortchanged Kindiki to give him.
Now that we've mentioned Kindiki, Farouk Kibet was in Busia telling Kithure Kindiki that he's going to be the next president or president at some point. It appears Farouk Kibet feels he's a kingmaker. For what reason, I do not know. But I want us to quickly jump to because when we're talking about Rigathi Gachagua, we're talking about DCP and these other political players, we're talking about one term. We must also look at where the government is, the government scorecard as it is today. Do we think, in our estimation, that the number of years that William Ruto has been in power is enough for us to say this government has performed dismally or this government has performed well? How has this government performed, even as we head towards 2027? Because we are already campaigning. Everyone is campaigning. Even though they will say they're not campaigning, they're campaigning. Where is the government at? How has the government performed in your estimation? Owidi, you can begin with you.
First of all, let me tell you that the noise you hear out there that has led to Riggy G now comfortably saying one term, is caused by the media. Propaganda controls the media and the media controls us. So political players throw propaganda at the media and the media reflects it towards us. So the noise you've been seeing, I have explained here multiple times. that why I believe there is a biased media in the country is because the very things they accuse President William Ruto of today, they never accused his predecessor just a year or less earlier. So all this noise we are talking about, we need to look for facts, figures, and the logic on the ground. Let's look at some figures like inflation. Up from 16 to 9.6, now it is 4.5. And nobody's talking about it, and that profound fall in inflation has never been reported by the media positively anywhere. You'll find it in the 6th column or the 10th column if there were any. But they will come out.
How does that fall in inflation affect common mwananchi?
It affects.
Has the purchasing power of mwananchi gone up?
Let me tell you about purchasing power. If the cost of buying goods falls, your small money will buy those goods. If the cost of goods rise, your a lot of money may not afford you anything. One other thing that I have said before, towards the election of 2022, you remember we had subsidy in unga and we had subsidy in fuel. The key factors in consumption in this country. And when President William Ruto came in, he said, we do not have money to continue giving you subsidy without a plan as to how we will deal with the high cost of living. So what I need to do is get for you affordable fertilizers so that you can grow your food to reduce the cost of food. And he also deliberately created an atmosphere where fuel cost would come down and exchange rates also came down. So when all these things happened, and we are still making noise as if in the past when we did not make noise they were any better than today, I think we are just being dishonest. We are just having a case of some people believing others are not fit to be president in this country. It is them who are fit to be. I think Kenyans need to open their eyes and forget about being captured by a partisan media to claim that the current president is not doing the best he can do. Today, the noise about SHA has gone down completely because every testimony you hear is I got help, I got treated, I got help, I got treated. And now when they realize SHA is now dealing with the 21 million of Kenyans compared to the 8 million NHF was dealing with, they are beginning to feel ashamed of the noise they made. We spent a lot of time making so much noise. So from where I sit, President William Ruto has surpassed expectation of well-meaning Kenyans.
Agnes, are you part of the well-meaning Kenyans? DCP is saying William Ruto has failed spectacularly.
Actually, I was about to ask my friend.
Just ask.
He's talking about the inflation.
Yes.
And it's just the question I had asked before.
Yes.
Can we, as the common mwananchi, feel that inflation?
You can't feel it because you are inbuilt prejudices and discriminations inbuilt.
No, the reason why I can't feel it is because you're saying things have, the prices have gone down, but I don't have the money to purchase. Why don't I have that money? And previously I used to have.
So don't tell me about previously. That one is not true for anyone.
Well, she's saying previously she used to have. Owidi is saying.
See, I'm telling her that is not true.
No, what I'm asking is, assuming I'm employed, this same unga I used to buy at 100, but I'm now buying it at around 130. Why that difference of 30 bob?
My dear sister, even me when I was young, I used to buy a loaf of bread at 4 shillings in school.
Fine.
There is also the time. There is also the time value for inflation.
I've factored that in, but at least like.
And when you tell me that you used to buy it at 100, and Uhuru went out of power when it was 250, and it was just subsidized to come out at 100, I think you're not being honest in your submissions here.
Okay, what I'm trying to mean is the inflation may have gone down, but we at the ground level still haven't felt the effect. What should we do about that?
And let me tell you,
for example,
there is no citizen
now,
in this country.
Answer me, what should we do about that?
You work hard and make money. The government is not going to make for you money. Okay. You're going to make it yourself. But let me also tell you.
But remember, my pay slip is still the same. So how?
Yes.
how should I solve
we
that?
talk like we are not the owners of Kenya. We are the shareholders of Kenya. It is your money working hard that is going to have that tax.
Haven't you seen that my payslip has been really, really cut short? There are so many taxes in between.
That has to happen because your brother Uhuru Kenyatta left so much debt we have to tax you to pay.
Now, Owidi is saying things are okay.
To him, things are okay.
DCP and some Kenyans are saying things are not okay.
And it's true.
The price of commodities is still where it was. Some commodities even higher. We have been talking about the finance bill, and I heard John Mbadi say he's one of the most brilliant cabinet secretaries or ministers of finance to ever exist, maybe on the African continent. Because his finance bill is the best. It does not, hurt Kenyans. It does not, levy more taxes, and it cannot be contested. Agnes, when you mention these parameters, you're saying the payslip is still at the same level. And by the way,
actually, it's
Kenyans, worse. Kenyans who are on payslips are far less than those who are not on payslips, because you have too many people who survive on wages. They do not have a salary, but they get some income in some sort of way. The salaried ones, the ones on payslips, have the different deductions that are being made by government. I had Riggy G come out, saying the housing levy should be abolished, or he will abolish the housing levy, even though he was a great proponent of the housing levy and affordable housing. He talked about SHA and SHA, reverting back to NHIF. And Owidi has mentioned that there are no more complaints about SHA. Now that you understand the manifesto or what DCP stands for, why would Riggy G and DCP want to revert to NHIF when you have people like Owidi who are saying SHA is working?
You see, people are used to the NHIF and it was running smoothly. Then when SHA came in, we had those teething problems. You even heard of the lady who was arrested the other day because she stormed into the meeting because the SHA wasn't working, right? I want to believe when we were transitioning from NHIF to SHA, quite a number of things got lost there in between. And I think that's why this Gachagua is saying we should go back to NHIF. Maybe there are things that were not, things that didn't cross over to the SHA. And I also believe maybe he feels more of the SHA is more of an individualized something, not more of something owned by the public of sort.
Okay.
Yeah.
Owidi, you were about to
I was supposed to say something. The Gachagua's problem is stuck in the past. To come and say now we need to go back to NHIF, I am sure Gachagua has not even understood what SHA is, what SHIF is, what Taifa Care is, what universal health. He has no idea. Because we brought in an organization called SHA. And SHA took NHIF as one of the funds and renamed it SHIF. It then introduced another fund called Emergency Critical and Chronic Diseases Fund, where you would use even if you don't contribute. It also brought in what is called the Health Infrastructure Fund, which would be used to improve the health facilities. So it also brought something called primary health care, which any citizen, however poor you are, should be able to get for free. These things were not available in NHIF. What is DCP saying is going to do about chronic diseases, what it is going to do about critical diseases, what it is going to do about emergencies, where emergency has found you and there's nothing you can do. That DCP has no answer. So we will tell...
No, I have a question. You're talking of this emergency, chronic and critical illness fund. But I want to believe if you go right now to that public hospital near your place with an emergency case, they'll first tell you, you purchase, there is a card they buy for...
No, in our place, we don't just do things in belief. We do facts, figures.
But Agnes
I'm
is
talking
saying
from a fact
that
because I've ever gone to
yeah.
a public hospital near my place with a sick child, and they did not attend to me till I go purchase a card worth 50 bob.
a book, you mean, for entry.
Yeah, that was just the beginning. That is just registering.
But now you see, I'm telling you a fact. As you are saying, you're also talking about
This was
fact.
pre-SHA or after SHA?
During SHA, what we have now. So I still want to believe if it is that really working, why is it working in some places and
How
not?
better was NHIF working regarding what you have just said? In fact, it was worse. In fact,
No, the status has been the same.
Now, you're mentioning some administrative issues that have been happening around our our healthcare system, really. And what you're talking about, if you go to rural, health facilities, dispensaries, and some hospitals, by the way.
Yes.
The levels notwithstanding. I think these days we are now preoccupied with, hospitals being upgraded. I saw people from my county, Bungoma, excited that, Bungoma County Hospital is going to be upgraded to level 6 in name only. But you've mentioned something that I have also seen across our rural healthcare facilities. You get into a hospital and you're asked to go buy a book for your medical records. I think most people who have, been to those hospitals or health facilities can attest to this. I know of several dispensaries and health facilities in Kakamega County and Bungoma County where if a mother is coming to deliver, you must come with your own cotton gauze.
Yes.
You must come with your own gloves. You must come with, in some instances, you must come with your own, your own basin. And syringes.
Yes.
And sometimes I think we conflate the health, the funding of healthcare through SHA and the administration of our health facilities. Because most counties are not managing their health facilities properly. Whether SHA would have been working at optimum or not, if a hospital that is run by Nandi County is not working, it will be material that SHA is working.
Correct.
So you have a scenario, and by the way, one of the things that I find very interesting is that you have governors, for example, on both sides of the divide. Those who are supporting SHA and those who are against SHA, those who are supporting Rigathi Gachagua, saying SHA
But also
is
those
not
who are
working.
supporting Rigathi Gachagua against SHA.
They're against SHA.
They're against SHA.
But you
Because
see,
that is
they're against SHA, but their hospitals are doing poorly. So why are you saying SHA is not working yet administratively your health facilities are not working?
Not working.
So you have this, dishonesty on either side.
Allow me to explain to you a few challenges that SHA has, and then you choose who to blame. One, there is also visiting a wrong hospital. The primary health care is supposed to be up to level 3 hospital. So if you have a primary issue and you run to referral or level 5, you are in trouble. That is supposed to be dealt with by the county government. They're supposed to be the ones to explain. In any case, health is devolved. SHA is only underwriting the funding. Number two, there is what is the most serious issue: delayed contributions by county governments. I had told you here before one time that 39 counties perennially delay the contributions to statutory bodies up to 3 months. It means at any time if you work for a county government and you go to hospital, your contributions will be late 3 months. You'll be told, like now we are in June, you will be told May, April and March are not paid. So you are not eligible. So that is a problem that you need to squarely place on the desk of the county governors. There is also a problem of unverified identity. People go to hospital, you cannot even verify them to put them where they belong. That is another problem that we have seen in county hospitals. Then there is the administration of those hospitals. Sometimes you want to explain to the patient that, you see, the work of SHA is to pay. But this problem you're finding here, there is no medicine, is the work of the county government. In any case, the government would pay them through SHA. But they are not providing the services. So when the hospital is not working, don't call SHA is not working. SHA is working. Ni wewe ndio hujapata huduma.
Okay, fine.
Agnes, as you come in, there is something Owidi has mentioned about medicines. Today, newborns cannot get BCG vaccines, polio vaccines, and in some cases hepatitis B vaccines. Now, I had Duale, I think he was before the Parliamentary Committee on Healthcare, saying UNICEF had given him a written undertaking that they are going to deliver vaccines next month or within a month. This is a cabinet secretary telling us somebody else has given him an undertaking that they will deliver very critical, medicines to the country. Today, I think there are newborns today who are going past the required weeks or number of days for them to receive vaccinations, because the vaccines are being handled like contraband. Only a few people have these vaccines. As you comment, your comment on SHA, also give us your comment on how government has been handling these administrative issues, especially medicines, because we still have KEMSA as the overall supplier of medicines in Kenya.
I actually wanted to comment when he talked about the government not paying the governors for them to distribute the payment and everything that should be done in the county hospitals. Now, I want to ask, you are saying that this government is really doing well. Why is it not paying, or why is it having those delay? Why is it having the delays of 3 months? They haven't given to the hospitals. Why are they not able to provide the medicine that is needed? And right now, are they not feeling that the children, the Kenyan citizens' children, are at a risk of even developing other serious issues that should be catered in when they say that there are no BCG vaccines? There are no other vaccines.
I told you that.
Isn't the government the one failing?
I told you the government that is failing are the county governments. The statutory contribution by employees of the county government is supposed to be remitted by the county government, not the national government. And a properly run county government is supposed to plan properly, especially in matters of salaries. Salaries should be given priority as protected payments.
Now my issue is, or my concern is, the national government can see what is happening, right?
Yes.
Why can't they just say that they stop what is it called? Devolving the health sector so that it stops being affected.
But that will require...
Will the governors even accept it?
That will require constitutional amendment.
And it will require...
Fine, I don't refuse
amendment
that
to the law,
we'll have to amend the constitution, right? But don't you think that amending the constitution is far much easier than having people dying because they don't have medicine, because the county governments are not remitting what they need to?
But I thought, Agnes, the easiest thing would be to supply medication.
Which the county governments are not able to.
Why are county
so why
governments
can't
not able
why
to?
can't we now? Because it's not just one county or 2 or 3. It's most of the counties.
So
right?
you tell your party leader to start blaming his governors also. He can't. He must also extend his manifesto of one term to his counties.
It's not just the DCP leader who's complaining. I think it's a national issue.
It is indeed a national issue. And now that you're talking about counties and the national government, there is the issue of corruption, because most of these monies that are supposed to do these very critical things are being lost through corruption.
Yes.
And one of the things I've had, and I don't know why, personally, this is my personal view, I do not know why people listen to Riggy Gachagua when he talks about corruption and, that they're, mentioning that there is corruption within William Ruto's government. Not that I do not think that William Ruto's government is full of corruption, but Riggy Gachagua, going by his history and his footprint in government, is one individual who should not be talking about corruption because he does not have the moral standing to do so. But one of the things that has led us here, where our children, infants do not have vaccines, is the fact that even counties themselves are squandering money. The other day, the Senate Public Accounts Committee was in Uasin Gishu, and they were touring, I think it's a level 3 or level 4 hospital that was supposed to be built at a place called Ziwa. And the county government of Uasin Gishu had a budget of 1.2 billion shillings to build, I think, a 200-bed capacity hospital. Mm-hmm. They have spent around 430 million shillings. There is nothing on ground that you can call a hospital. There are structures that are still, being constructed, but nothing useful. And I think it was Senator Wambua who was mentioning that some counties have spent 130 million to build a 400-bed capacity hospital. I think Nakuru County spent less than that amount to build a 300-bed capacity hospital. But you have a county that has spent already 430 million shillings onwards, and there is no hospital complete. So you have pilferage, both at county level and national level. But I want to ask, Owidi, do you think that there is corruption in William Ruto's government? And do you also think that there is corruption in the presidency?
I think I would like you to have placed that question. Do you think there is corruption within government in Kenya?
But
because majority of
William Ruto is the head of.
Yeah, I do agree. Majority of those people you see in that government, Ruto found them there and he will leave them there. But you cannot police every individual working in the government to end corruption. It is not possible in Kenya. It is not possible in Europe. It is not possible anywhere. But as long as the wheels of justice are rolling, as long as the institutions meant to deal with this corruption are let with a free hand to deal with corruption, that is all the president can do. Because the president is one person against 57 million plus Kenyans, many of whom are very corrupt. In fact, corruption became a culture even before President William Ruto was born in this country.
So you're saying William Ruto found corruption in government. He has no hand in it. He's a clean man.
He is a very clean man. Really? In fact, what he's struggling to do is to ensure that these people who are making his government unclean are also facing the law of the land.
That is very interesting. That William.
But I'm an interesting man.
No, you're also adding. That is true, but you're also adding an interesting perspective to William Ruto. That he's also very clean.
No, he's a very clean man.
And that lends credence to what DCP Riggy Gachagua and now Riggy Gachagua is calling it the Wamnyoro axis. Those who are in opposition to government. I do not want to call it a different name, but they are saying they want William Ruto out of government. DCP also wants William Ruto out of government. You speak to Martha Karua, she wants William Ruto out of government. They're not talking about Kithure Kindiki, anyone else in government. They want William Ruto out of government. So does it mean that William Ruto is the only problem that government has today? William Ruto out of government is the only solution that the country needs?
What a beautiful question.
Indeed, yes. Reason why, I think there are people we've interacted with and they say you cannot advise the president. He's the one to tell his advisors how to advise him. So if he had a good listening ear, I think we wouldn't be here talking of one term.
So if William Ruto changes tomorrow and he cries like he did some time back, and
no, I'm not saying that he cries.
Yeah. No, but the crying is, metaphorical.
Yes, I get what you mean. But then you see, already a damage has been made. Because this is a person you can't advise. He advises the people to advise him. So how can you advise a person who cannot be advised? So how are we going to tackle the corruption issue if this man that is supposed to be advised and be told things are not running well, says things are running well. So how do we help that?
But is the problem that William Ruto is beyond advice? Because on one hand, you'd hear people say, Riggy G says he was betrayed.
Yes.
And he's very, bitter and pained that he was betrayed by William Ruto. Does Riggy Gachagwa's betrayal amount to betrayal of the Kenyan people?
Can I ask a question? Let me answer that with a question. We've seen people like Kapogo, who was appointed the CS the other day. When this guy was out of government, he used to criticize it, right? What happened to him after he got into the government?
He's cabinet secretary, so he supports government.
But you see, you can also critique, right?
A government in which you are the cabinet.
I thought critique is positive.
It is not possible. You can criticize within the cabinet there.
What I mean is, you can go to this president and tell him this and this is not working well. But instead of this president having a listening ear, he doesn't want to be advised. So what do? You just shut up and say, let things continue the way they are. Right?
But my question was, as regards Riggy Gachagua, is his grievance that he could not advise William Ruto, or he was betrayed by William Ruto? Why does he want William Ruto out of power? And why should the whole country believe that getting William Ruto out of power, is the only solution that the country has, and replacing William Ruto with Riggy Gachagua, Martha Karua, Eugene Wamalwa is the best alternative that Kenyans have?
I want to believe it because he thinks that the president is hard-headed.
Okay.
Right? In this way, this is a person you cannot advise. And therefore, when you tell him the truth, he comes back at you, right? We had when Riggy G was saying he tried to advise him on the security issues, and he was told to keep up the security, right? And then when you try to tell him the ground, things are not working well, he says things are working well. And then when he sees you as a problem, he wants you out of that government. So it's more of, if I find you are the person who is working as a barrier to where I want to get, what do I do to you? I get you out of the way. So I want to believe, even if we get to the people who are in the cabinet and tell them to tell us the truth, they'll also say this man is hard-headed. He doesn't want to listen. He doesn't listen to people. So I want to believe if he was a person who can be advised and the people around him to tell him the truth and not being selfish, we can change the story.
Okay, so you're saying
because
there's redemption for
this
William
is not the president we elected. This person was a darling to the people. But 2 years down the line, what has changed? I would want to know.
You tell us.
No, I would want to know. You people are the ones who are.
No, you're saying you elected William Ruto.
Yes,
and he was a darling of the people. And
yeah.
I've also heard Riggy Gachagua say he's a political scientist. He has never, had anyone pull the wool over his eyes. But William Ruto did it. For the first time in his life. And he's saying he didn't see the signs. You're also saying that you voted in William Ruto, you didn't see any sign
of him changing.
That he would change.
Yeah.
So how did William Ruto change to a level that now you want him out, yet you voted him in?
Maybe I can also ask, why is Wanjiku against the president?
No, but you voted,
yes. I think we were all caught off guard by the bottom-up thing. People thought things would be easy. He would include the border people, the mamambogas, he used to say when he was doing the campaign trails. But now we were all caught off guard. Everything started going up, and I think that's where now instead of him having a listening ear, he became deaf to Wanjiku. And I think now you see, if Wanjiku doesn't feel satisfied or her needs are not met, of course, what will happen? Wanjiku starts rebelling.
Okay, I get your point. Owidi, Agnes is saying William Ruto changed. They elected a different person, and William Ruto is hard-headed. They only want him out of power. If William Ruto gets out of power, then this country would be safer in the hands of Rigathi, Karua, Eugene Wamalwa, Kalonzo Musyoka et al.
Kenya is the only place I know where people want to fire their boss because their boss is hard-headed. But let me tell you, it is not William Ruto who changed. It is Riggy G who changed. Riggy G was a very humble. Riggy G was a very humble first-term MP, very humble. But the moment President William Ruto made him a DP, and he started seeing power with his own eyes, he started plotting on how to take over this power. When I see people come and say that President William Ruto betrayed Riggy G, I really feel a lot of pain. Actually, the person who betrayed the other was Riggy G. If you look at the time when Riggy G and President William Ruto started changing the way they look at each other, it was after the June 25th, when it was clear that Riggy G was the part of the planning and plotting of the Gen Z uprising. When it was clear that Riggy G had already traveled to Mombasa to go and take power from Mombasa. When it was
is that why he was in Mombasa?
Of course.
I'm learning that today.
Of course.
Yeah.
You better learn that small detail.
Oh, Agnes, you also
No,
agreeing that he
I'm
had
saying
gone...
I'm learning it now.
Okay.
Yes, you need to learn some things from me. Because if you don't go to school where I am, you will not learn certain very important things.
And Owidi, how did you know that he had gone to take power in Mombasa?
In politics, you get the answer from facts, figures, logic, actions, and inactions.
That's what I'm
So
asking.
in action, did you listen to Riggy G's speech in Mombasa?
I did.
No reference to government, no reference to William Ruto. Riggy G had...
So you inferred that because he didn't make any reference to government, he was there to take power.
Mwangale, things just don't happen. In politics, they are made to happen. So the way Riggy G started behaving, it was very clear that he had chosen to go a separate way because he had noticed his community is large, the clout which he didn't have, he suddenly has, the money which he didn't have, he suddenly has. So, according to him, he was the one who was more fit to be president than President William Ruto. And this idea of saying, why is Wanjiku complaining? I had told you here a few minutes ago that propaganda controls the media controls us. This idea that President William Ruto is a bad man has been thrown to the media, and the media has reflected it onto Wanjiku until they are now believing it. President William Ruto is a very good man. Some of these things you are saying that President William Ruto has failed to do. How well did President Uhuru Kenyatta do them? How well did President Mwai Kibaki do them?
But one would say, Owidi, that people are not comparing... or when William Ruto was coming into power, he did not say he's coming into power to perform better than Kenyatta or Mwai Kibaki. He came into power with a manifesto, and that manifesto was not juxtaposed with past presidents. It was his manifesto.
I am not a lawyer, but I have sat in courts where we say, referring to cases before. And also, in the law of natural justice, you must compare apples to apples. And why I normally refer to the back, because in the past, the people who are rebelling against President William Ruto had one of their own as president, and all his mistakes, he got away with them. When she was telling me here that why is Unga now 130 and it used to be 100 and the salary is still the same? President Uhuru Kenyatta left Unga at 250, albeit with what is called subsidies. So, and nobody made noise. Nobody said Uhuru has failed. Nobody says the cost of living is high.
There are people on the streets saying Uhuru had failed.
Yes.
There
So the failure we are now putting 100% on President William Ruto was Uhuru's.
So
remember, that time when people on the street Uhuru had failed, Uhuru had been in power for 10 years. Ruto, we went to the streets when he had not even formed his cabinet.
But he's the one who promised people that in 100 days he would have done
my friend,
such and such a thing.
In elections, there are statements, there is pep talk, there is promises, there is manifesto, there are covenants, and
So
there are all sorts of those things.
What was
So
William Ruto
not everything said during campaigns becomes a covenant. Because sometimes you are making those statements before you actually take power and know. Today, you hear people are saying, why is the government doing this? Why is the government doing this? Take pen and paper. We collect a maximum of 2.7 trillion. 1.2 goes to debt servicing. 900 billion goes to recurrent expenditure in the country as salaries. County governments wants 400 billion. What are we left with? Before we even build a kilometer of road. So we keep on saying, oh, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. Even some of these counties which claim to have on source of revenue of up to 3 billion, 2 billion, many times cannot even pay their own salaries. They keep on complaining about the national government.
But
the national government...
There's something you're skipping there when you're talking about government expenditure. The amount that goes to debt servicing, the amount that goes to recurrent expenditure. When we look at government expenditure in total, aside from debt servicing, there is a lot of wastage in government.
Of course.
So how do we address this wastage, and who should be blamed for wastage?
It is even possible that this 900 billion that goes for salaries in the national government, some of it is wastage. But you see, a government is a very large thing. Every agency, every state department will bring their own budget. That budget is rationalized both at Parliament and at Treasury. That rationalization, actually, you cannot blame it entirely on the President. The President can't take a toothpick and start going through the budget presented by a state department. It will have to be done by Parliament. So there are also cases where we have...
The President is powerless.
He's not powerless, no.
So what should he
He's
do?
not powerless, but his power can only do so much.
What
and
is that?
Being from where he is, he can always correct this thing slowly. But he cannot wake up one day and say, I want this thing to cost this much. It is not
Owidi,
possible.
just for the benefit of our viewers,
Yes.
when you're saying the president can correct this thing slowly, he can only do so much.
Yes.
What is it that the president should and can do?
I remember there was a
wastage?
time when we were in a crisis, especially after the Gen Z uprising. The president called all heads of state corporations and state departments and told them, I don't know what your budgets are. I don't know what you're going to do about it. But your budget must be cut by 30% so that we have other parts of the government moving. That is what you can expect from a president, considering that the country must run smoothly.
And would say, having said that, is it consistent that a president who should and can do that will always increase the budget, for the office of the president, let alone the executive office of the president that has the whole presidency, the office of the president, whose budget is increasing annually? Is that consistent with an individual who says he desires government to cut spending?
I think you can't single out that it is the office of the president that the budget is increased.
No, but you have
throughout the national government. Like the budget this year is definitely more than the previous year and the previous year. That is the growth in a nation. Every nation has that growth. But I have also seen this idea of people keep on saying that, the executive office of the president, the budget is increasing. But let me tell you, the complaint of the president having renovated the State House is one thing every Kenyan should applaud.
Wow.
When you look at the photos and the videos coming from State House, then you understand why Kenya is gaining respect. Some of these people, these big wigs who come to Kenya as development partners, as business partners, the place they go to is State House. And when they see Kenya looking like their country, they say, this is a country we can do business with. But when you know, there's a time State House used to look like the old St. Mary's School, Yala, when I went, which started in 1901. It looked, State House looked horrible.
Owidi, let me just remind you that 10 Downing Street in the UK is a very old building. In fact,
of course,
it has no compound. They step off the street and get into, and they are amongst our biggest benefactors.
Thank you.
So you are saying that individuals who have had their state lodges, state houses, white houses, or whatever you call it, come to Kenya and they respect the country because we have renovated State House.
Not because it looks good. We are a country worth doing business with. Let me tell you something. you are talking about 10 Downing Street and the rest. Don't compare Kenya to the UK. Kenya is a country where people can even steal when your doors are locked.
But those people
having a wall.
Those people who are coming.
Have you ever thought about State House in Kenya not having a wall or a gate?
No,
have you ever thought about it?
I would not think about it because
yes.
These are things that were handed over to us. The governor in the colonial period chose State House for its strategic placement. If we gained independence and State House, as we know it was at the office of the president at Arambe House, we would have no issue. But we are saying that because it has been renovated, people are coming and they are seeing, a very palatial place, and they respect the country.
Mwangale,
Agnes, do you think this?
Mwangale, before you go to Agnes, even if you became president today, I am very sure you will not be ushering leaders into Arambe Avenue. You will be taking them to State House, and there are some people who come to this country. The only Kenya they interact with is State House, and they go back. Honestly, people need a proper image.
Agnes, government wastage. Owidi saying State House was renovated. Now we are getting serious visitors. And those serious visitors are saying they will invest in this country.
No, visitors are taking us seriously. Don't put mouths into my words.
I was actually to ask, how many businesses have we got because we've renovated State House?
Owidi will tell you many.
Yes, of course, that's what I will tell you because I don't have the exact figure. So many is the figure I have.
Okay.
Now we're talking about visitors. Recently, the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Salim Davadi, presented a sessional paper on foreign policy. Our foreign policy, according to MFA, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, was due for revamping. It had to be revamped, and this sessional paper it's a long paper that was presented to Parliament. There have been consultative processes around our foreign policy, and especially towards getting that sessional paper. As we talk about visitors and investors and how we relate with other countries, the other day William Ruto was in China, and he was calling out the Bretton Woods institutions, calling out the West. A few days later, he's again in dalliance with a few people from the West. What is it that Kenya stands for when it comes to foreign policy? And when I'm talking about Kenya, Owidi, now that you understand William Ruto very well, what is it that William Ruto stands for as regards foreign policy in Kenya?
What do you mean stands for as regards foreign policy? Kenya has a foreign policy that is working. Friendliness to all countries of the world. I heard the other day, people were making noise that the president had embraced China, so the United States is protesting. And my answer to them was this. The United States used to have influence over Kenya, and we used to respect them and treat them very fairly because they gave us aid. US aid was here, and we benefited a lot. But when they wake up one day without notice and withdraw this, we are under obligation to look elsewhere. We are under obligation to turn east because we are not a colony of the United States. When President Donald Trump came into office, he forgot that the influence that the United States have over the rest of the world is due to the aid that they give one state or another from time to time. That is one thing he forgot to see. So President William Ruto embracing both sides of the coin at any given time is the best policy anyone can have. The other day people are complaining, he was in Sudan, he embraced both parties. You will have to embrace both parties at any given time. If you go to China, that doesn't stop you from going to the US and Europe. That is how you can operate when you are a small country like our country, Kenya.
Agnes.
Maybe a question to Mr. Owidi. Do you think what the president did with the Sudan issue was right?
You need to first tell me what he did.
There is that charter that they signed here in Nairobi.
Did you know the content?
So, Agnes, you can, yeah.
Okay. Maybe you can tell us the content.
I don't know. You are the one. That is your question.
No, I would want to know because
I don't know myself.
We heard that there is the charter.
I don't know myself, but what I know is the president did the right thing and he will always do the right thing.
What you're saying, the president did the right thing and he will always do the right thing, even when you don't know what he has done.
Because I know him.
No, I want
it's just like me.
When
there are certain things that when you accuse me of, even Agnes here will tell you Owidi can't do that.
Like you here denying he didn't do what he did.
What did he do?
Or what he did was
what did
right.
He do?
I want you to tell us the content.
I don't know what he did, but he did the right thing.
Okay. As we wrap up, there's a recommendation in the sessional paper regarding ambassadors. And the proposal is that we need to have a proportion 70 to 30% in appointments of ambassadors and diplomats. So 70% goes to career diplomats and 30% goes to experienced people. You'd call them political appointments. What is your view? And as you say, what your view is, how has the political appointments in our diplomatic corps affected our relationships, our relations with other countries? And do you think this is a proposal that we should take up, or should we say 100% ambassadors should be career diplomats? Agnes, you can begin.
In my opinion, I think they should be 100% careers. Reason being, this is a person who should be an expertise in the foreign and international relations. When we get this political appointment, some people don't know what they are going to do there. You find that even how to bring the two countries together is a hard task. So I believe some of these things should just be career oriented, where we have the expertise and not just political appointments. Yes.
So even if the political appointees are taken through, the Foreign Service School and trained, you don't think we need?
I think this is where we say professionalism comes in. Yes.
Okay.
I don't think you can have 100% career diplomats, not in Kenya, not in the US, not anywhere else. Because the work of diplomacy is not only by training and education, it is also by demeanor and character. It is also by experience in governance. It is not just a diplomacy. So, and there are some countries that for example, Uganda, you'd rather have somebody who understands the political dynamics of the East African region. So, in fact, if it were me, it would have been a 60-40 instead of a 70-30. So that we also get people who are experienced in politics and regional diplomacy, regional politics to go. You remember there was a time that Raila Odinga was vying for AU chairmanship in Ethiopia. And you saw the mess that we had there. When you carry a whole crowd and they go dancing there, definitely that would rattle even the countries that came there to vote. And some of those things need people who understand the political dynamics of the region to advise accordingly and have the correct things done. So,
but it was said that it was the politicians and political appointees who caused that whole mess.
They were not political appointees, they are just politicians.
The career diplomats were seated back and wondering why are these people doing
And
this?
you see, he said about the career, the demeanor, the character. I think even these career people, if you take them through the training, these are people who will merge in very well and blend in.
Character is not trainable.
But you see, these politicians go and mess things out.
The ones that mess things out, we also know. There are those you can't take to be a diplomat. See, you know them.
No, but
you can't take Salasia to be a diplomat, even though he's a politician.
There was an individual whose name I'm forgetting who had been appointed to be ambassador in Congo. And when he was before the defense committee for vetting, he had almost no idea what he was going to do there. No idea about, he had not even done the basic research about Congo in the first place. So it is possible that the political appointments could, be skewed towards reward than, looking towards, experienced people who can do the job.
That's why I agree with you. But that is why that committee is there to sieve them, so that if you find another one who is incapable of slipping in.
But did you know who appointed that gentleman?
No.
William Ruto, the one who does.
Yes. So and
the
you
one
see,
who does not do anything wrong.
When President William Ruto appointed him, President William Ruto knew he would go and get a roadblock if it's the wrong one. The president can't know everyone by character, name.
But you're saying the president knew that he would go and get a roadblock.
So why did he appoint him knowing?
No. If I said if, why are you removing if from my sentence?
Anyway, guys, let's wrap up. Just a minute each. Your final and last comments about our political landscape as we close, and as you give us that statement. We also have a culture of giving our controversial opinions. Owidi, you know this. Agnes, give us your opinion that you think is very controversial and you would not say it anywhere else, but it's a reasonable opinion. But Owidi, you can go first.
My first opinion is I would like to advise the party leader of DCP to stop causing fear in Kenyans. Number two, I want to advise him to know that Kenya belongs to all of us and we must share its resources equally and equitably, including leadership positions. But I also must advise my friend, I know now he now stands advised without my words, a man called Matiang'i. He had believed that he was going to be the candidate of the anti-Ruto brigade. Now it is very clear to him that it's not going to be. There was a time back when Kenyatta was president. There was also a man called Odoyo. He was recalled from UN service to come and be made the vice president here. He came with pomp and used all the money he had to buy a very big house befitting a vice president. He was never made the vice president. The same way Jaramogi worked very hard to bring multi-party, that is removing Section 2A of the Constitution, and formed a party believing that his brothers who helped him, his brothers, the Kikuyu, will help him to be president even for one term. They told him, remember my brother, let the people decide. So going forward, Matiang'i must know, Riggy G will tell him, let the people decide. Because Riggy G believes his clansmen are the only Kenyans that can make a decision.
Well, Agnes, are you Riggy G's clan's person? Your controversial opinion.
Not exactly, but I buy into his school of thought in that the citizens of Kenya needs to be heard, their opinions voiced, and having them get trust back in the politicians. Because as we stand, I don't think citizens believe in politicians. Where we are at, we have been told so many lies that things will be actualized, and up to this point, there are so many things that have not been met. So I want to believe our president was a one-term president to teach us a lesson, and that we need...
You're saying he was a one-term president. It's a done deal.
Yes, it is. The ground has decided.
So I think the ground is not only Wamunyoro.
No, but let's just we'll get to know by 2027. But I think it's a lesson that this man has taught us, that it's not every cry is genuine. So let's all have a soul search and get to know what the citizens of Kenya want.
Okay.
Yes.
Unasema tusikize ground.
Tusikize ground.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we had for you today. But before we go, I just want to acknowledge a few of our viewers who have been, commenting. Moses Otieno, Anjiku Irungu, We've seen your comments, John, Peter Manyonge, Mark Okuru, and Isabella Ubara. Just to mention but a few, thank you guys for tuning in and staying with us here on Fireside. See you next week as we continue to infuse our opinions and thoughts in the political discourse of this country. Have a good night and have a great week ahead.
Thank you.